Welcome to Moss Hollow Pottery. I'm Anne Dilker, and today I'm going to show you how to get started with finger weaving. Now, just to give you an idea what finger weaving is. This is this is the very first piece of finger weaving I ever did. And let's see if we can get it into the camera here. I did the focal part of a necklace. And it started small, and then it got chunkier, and then it ended up small on the other side. But I didn't want to do the whole necklace in beads. It would have been too heavy for me. So I just ended it with a spacer bead and then some leather. But before we can do this, we have to learn some of the basics. So that's what this video is about today. We're going to get you started on some basics. Just as a rule of thumb, I will generally pull 3 times as much length of cord, as I want the project to be. So if I'm doing a 7-inch bracelet, I'll pull 21 inches of cord. In this case, I pulled 8 1-yard pieces of cord. I've tied them together in a knot. I've put the knot on the back of the macrame board, and I've just pulled them through the front. Now what I need to do is divide these into 2 sets. And this is where this little macrame board comes in handy, because I can just anchor them. It has notches here at the bottom, so I can just anchor these cords at the bottom. All right, so I've got 2 sets of 4. These are what are called the core cords, and I need a weaver, so let me just grab one of these guys and pull him out. And then I can just snug these guys back up at the bottom. No pins involved, which is good, because I always manage to stick myself with the pins. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I always end these with end caps or ribbon crimps. I'm not a real fan of some of the Solomon bar knot closures and that kind of thing. So what I need to do is start at least 1/4 of an inch and a little bit more of 1/4 of an inch, so that I have room to put the ribbon crimps on. But it really doesn't matter on this particular one, because we're going to do this figure 8 weave the whole way through. So I've got this one on the outside. I'm going to pass over this the first set of cords, and I'm going to pass under the second set. And each time I make a pass, I snug it up to the top. So now I went under this one, I have to go over it and go under the one on the other side. And then I'll snug it up at the top, and then over and under, and snug it up at the top. Now what this will do is just make a series of figure 8s with this weaver cord. And it makes 1 cord out of these 2 sets of core cords that are going together. It's a pretty nice look. All right, so now I'm ready to start adding beads. If that's what I was going to do, but I want to show you another couple of things that you can do before we start adding beads on this. Obviously, the number of cords that I have on the side are going to determine the overall thickness of the cord that I end up with. So if I want something that's really chunky, I can start with 20 cords and put 10 in each of these groups. Now, one of the advantages to starting with more as opposed to fewer cords is that as you work your piece, if you want to start doing some free-forming, well, actually it's all free-form, but if you want to add some undulation to it, you want to be able to take it out and have some diversions going on the side, is you can split these groups. And I'm going to split this group into 2 sets of 2. And again, I'm just going to anchor them at the bottom of the macrame board. Now I've got, you can't see it because it's a little bit tight up here at the top, but I have 3 sets of core cords now. And I can continue to weave over and under these. So I've come, this isn't over on this outside set, it's going to go under the center set. Now I need to go under this outside set and snug those down at the bottom, over the center, and then under the other outside set. Now this can be a little bit tricky in terms of tensioning. You want to be able to keep your tension even as you begin to work on these things. It's a little bit like any of the other fibro crafts. You kind of get used to what feels good as a tension. Some people will be tighter than others, just like knitting and crocheting. Some people knit tighter than others. All right, so this goes under the outside, over the center, under the other outside, and then just snug it up. So, as you can see, these last couple of stitches have provided a wider core than what I had here at the top. So that's just something for you to keep in mind as you're working on these. The other thing you can do is split this off and work just two of them, maybe these two, as a separate entity, leaving this as just an unwoven piece that you might put some beads on the cord as you go along. There's just a lot that you can do, but you have to know and be comfortable with the going over and under. And it's okay if you find yourself in a situation where you need to go back under and wrap around a cord. You can do that if you have to. And so that's pretty much what you need to know to get started on actual finger weaving. Now what I'm going to do is walk you through how to put some beads on it. And I'm going to put these two cords back in so that I'm back to just two sets of cords. And I'm going to take one weave over it so I can help you out with that. Now, the rule of thumb is you need to have a bead that has a hole that's large enough for the cord to go through. And I happen to be using Tex 210 S-lon. So I need beads that have holes that are large enough to go through Tex 210. And so since this is a book about Czech seed beads, I have a seed bead mix here. Just going to dump it out. This is one of the JTV kits. And as you can see, I've got a whole lot of beads. And I have a whole lot of beads in some really stupid styles, like this little thing, which can be really hard to work with. When I first started working with this, I hated this bead. Now it's one of my favorites. I've got lots of leaves in this mix. That's always fun. I've got some rounds. Now, what you want to do usually is supplement this with seed beads and maybe even some metal beads. So let me show you what I mean on that. Put this piece over here. So see, I've supplemented this with, there's some metal beads. There's a seed bead at the end of this square. This was a Czech mix as well. But it adds some interest to be able to put some other beads in it. So when you have your Czech mix, just kind of figure out a colorway and then supplement it. I'm just going to try to show you how to put some beads in here to begin with. Okay. Let me move the beads out of the way. Grab my string. I'm just going to start. Oh, by the way, I have put nail polish on the end of these. So these are just a little bit stiff. And I'm going to cut it at an angle. So now I have a self needle. And I can pick up a bead. This one happens to be a rondelle. And just slide it in. Slide the bead down. And now this is under, so I need it to go over. I'm going to go over this first set, under the second set, and snug it up. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put another bead on. I have a little drop bead out here at the side here. Just kind of, it's a little teardrop. Just put him on. Slide him down. And over the first set of cords and under the second, snug it up. And you're just going to keep going with that. And you just pick up random, this is a nice big one. Okay, slide it down, over the first one, under the second. You'll see you're just making a series of figure eights over. The key though is to snug it up every time. And then kind of keep these end ones snug as well. So let me see, let's put, there's another round one about the same size as the one I had before. Just put that, slide it down over the first set of cores, under the second set, and snug it up. So as you can see, you get this nice encrusted braid as you go along. What's this? This is, okay, this is a leaf bead. And I do believe that it's got the hole going the way I don't want it to. It does. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Can't find the hole. Oh, you know what? I lied. This one has the hole that's fine. This one has the hole going across the top of the bead. So I can just put him on exactly the way I put the other ones on. So you can see that I'm getting a nice kind of random encrusted piece here. Now what I'm going to do is stop this video, and I'm going to start another one after I run and I get some seed beads that match this, and I'll show you how to do loops and stacks, because that's what gives you this nice fluffy area once you learn how to do more than just putting a single bead. So that's finger weaving part 1, and I will be back with finger weaving part 2. So now I'm back with part 2 of finger weaving. It took me a while to get some things set up here. What I've done is I've taken beads from the Czech mix, and this mix is a little bit picked over because I've been working on this one for a while. Let me turn this board around so you can see. But what I've done is I've kind of sorted them into shape and hole style. These are rounds with holes in the center. These are top drilled leaves. These are holes that have to go lengthwise. That's one atlas bead that I happened to find hanging around. These are top drilled. Then what I did was I just took an assortment of different sizes and shapes of seed beads, and I don't sort my beads by manufacturer. I sort by color. So you can see that I've just selected, oh, I don't know, 8 or 10 different sizes and colors of seed beads so that I can go ahead and continue to work on this project. So I'm going to set these over here. And now, in order to add some fluff, which is what we were talking about, you know, I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me just kind of zero in here a little bit further. Okay, so this is where we left off. And what we had been doing was strictly going back and forth with figure 8s and putting a bead on the outside of one each time. Now what I want to do is maybe make a little loop here. And again, remember, I've got, oops, my cord's under the camera. I've got nail polish on the ends of this so that I have a little bit of a needle. You can use glue. The deal is, the goal is stiffen the end without increasing the diameter on it. So what I'm going to do is just come over here to my seed bead operation. I'm going to pick up 3 or 4 seed beads, and they don't have to be the same color or same style. So let me see. What I've done is I've put 3 seed beads on, a green, a gold, a green, a gold, and a green. Now what I need to do is make sure that those beads have holes that are large enough for the S-lon to pass back through. So I would not choose a size 11 for that. But for this next little part, I'm going to choose a size 11, which is a really tiny bead. I don't use 15s. Those of you who do, you're going to need to trade down to a smaller cord. Let me see if I can get this on here. Picking up these little beads is always an issue for me. Let's see if I put it on the bead mat, if that helps. Try one of these. Okay, I think I got it. All right, so now I finally got a size 11 bead on the end of that. What I'm going to do is slide that down. So now what I have down here are three, it looks like an 8, a 6, an 8, and an 11. And what I'm going to do is slide the 11 out and bring the cord, the end of the cord, back through these other three. And I'm actually going to pick that up off the board a little ways to do that. I find if I can lay the cord, get that 11 out, he's going to be the stopper bead. If I can lay the string, the needle end, against the core cord and kind of slide the beads over, that tends to be easier than trying to poke the end of the cord through the bead. All right, so what I have now are 3 beads with with the cord doubled back through it, and then the 1 bead that's only got the cord through it once. And that bead is going to become the stopper that holds this little stack of beads in place. So if I just pull it tight, you can see that now I have a little stack of beads. But I still need to keep weaving, so I need to go over this group and under the ones on the other side. And after each time, I need to snug them up. And I never, sometimes I will do a symmetrical pattern, but I tend not to. This happens to be a 2/0 seed bead. For those of you who are interested in seed beads, I'm not concerned about manufacturer. I even use beads that come from India. I know that they tend to be very irregular, and I know that there are a lot of people who don't care for those beads because they're irregular, but it kind of depends on the kind of work that you do. If you're a bead weaver and you want everything nice and uniform, then you don't want to go with those beads that tend not to be uniform. But for something like this, not only is it good for cleaning out your bead stash, but it's good for using all the beads that you have hanging around. All right, so now this time what I've done is essentially the same thing. I have a size 11/0 hanging out here at the end, but I have a stack that has, looks like a 2/0, a 6/0, and 2/8. And again, they're just sort of in the same colorway as what I'm using. They're not the, I kind of put them on randomly. I'm not too concerned about, more concerned about color than I am about anything else. All right, so let me see if I can slide this through here. And again, this is why you want, I need to pull this up out of the camera so that I can actually see it. This is why you want stiffening on the end of your cord, because when you're trying to go back through these smaller seed beads, and I might not be able to get through these 2 that I put on the end. They look like they have a Picasso finish. I got one of them. Let's see if I can get the next one. Sometimes these beads that have special finishes on them, the finishes can clog the holes, so you want to check them, but I was successful. All right. Alrighty. Let's pull these down here. So you can see that I've got all of them going through. I've got that one other 8 up here. Get him down there. And the 11 hanging around here on the end. Kind of pull it into position. All right. Now what I'm going to do is pull the stack down close. Kind of get the twist out of there. And then once I've got it close, I can just kind of hold that in position and pull it, and that 11/0 that's on the end pulls that and holds that stack. And again, I have to weave over this cord and under that core, and that wasn't quite snug. So what you do is you just snug it up again, pull it. There you go. All right, so that's how you make, I guess, sticks or stacks, or what you would call those. Now, what I'm going to do is just put another single bead on. And this is all just freeform design. If you put a bead on and you don't like it, it's easy to just back it up and take it out. So I'm going to put that one on. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to put maybe one of these leaves on that other side. And this is one of these top drilled leaves. So let's get him back outside where he needed to be. See how he wanted to slip in? Just kind of push him back. You can push him around a little bit. Snug him up. I'm going to put one more single bead in there, a smaller one if I have one. This little guy will do. This is about a 6 millimeter, it looks like. Bring it. I kind of want him to sit there in that center. So bring him in. There he is. That's good. Now, in order to make sure that he stays there, what I'm going to do is bring this cord around this outside with no bead on it. And that just kind of snugs him in where I want him to be. Now, obviously, as you're going through here, you can make your sticks longer. You could put 12 or 18 beads on them depending upon how fringy and how full you want it to be. The other thing that you can do that makes it look really full are loops. So let me pick up a bunch of seed beads over here. Let me get this one, I guess. And what I'm going to do is pick up, 8 or 10 seed beads, which is going to put me out of the camera frame for a while. Okay, so let's see what we've got this time. This time we have a much larger bead on the bottom and a bunch of smaller beads coming out. Now what I'm going to do is double this cord back through only that bottom bead. And by pulling that bottom bead down tight, I can just snug these up. And now I have a little loop of beads. And what I need to do is put this cord under. It's just so much easier when you're not trying to do it on camera. That went over this one, so it's got to go under this one. All right, so there, now you can see I have a little loop of beads. And I could make that loop much larger. The thing that's fun about loops are if you have drop beads or daggers in your mix, that looks really fun to put a dagger or a drop bead right on the outside of that loop, and it adds to the fringe. But you can see that it's pretty much just a case of building dimension as you go along, and you can make it thin by just putting a single row of small beads back and forth, or you can put bigger beads on it and start building your sticks and your loops. And that's really all there is to finger weaving. When I finish this, I'll finish it the exact same way that I finished it when I started it, which is by making about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more, of just finger weaving here, so that I can glue it, cut it, and then put a ribbon crimp on it. So that's finger weaving. I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks. Okay, so this is sort of finger weaving part 2A or part 3, because I forgot that I showed you how to put the weaver back into the core group and pick up a new weaver once the one you're working with gets short. And I also didn't show you how to put on some beads that have the hole running the wrong way. So anyway, I've worked a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is, this is the cord I've been weaving with. And It's not too short, but I'm going to put it back in the stack anyway, just so that I can go ahead and show you how to pull up a new one. So this one has three, this side has 3 cords in it. I'm going to put this one in back on that side that has 3. And I'm just going to snug it in down at the bottom. And then I'm going to pick up a cord from this other side, and I'm going to go ahead and weave that under. And then weave it back under this side and pull it up nice and tight. And what will happen is the next time that I weave, this is the this right here is the cord that I put back in on the other side, and it will just go right, snug right back in when I'm ready to move. And let me get just a round bead to put that back in there. I have a little round bead here. It's just got a center hole. You know what? I didn't cut the angle on the end of this. Let me just grab my nippers, cut an angle on the end of that cord, put that in there, slide him down, and then weave this under this side. And then snug it back up into place. Okay. And I'm going to bring it under the side just to kind of, shoot, has to come over that side. There we go. Snug that into place. Okay. Now, I want to go back over to that other side because I want to put the next group of beads on that other side. And the way you do that is just do a weave without any beads on it and snug it up. Now, this bead has a hole that runs from top to bottom. And I'm gonna make it just like I did the stick, only I'm not gonna put any beads below it. So I'm just gonna put this bead on, a stopper bead on the top. This looks like it might be size 8. I need to put on my magnifiers. All right. And then, so you see I've got just the single bead and then just a single bead at the top of it. And what I'm going to do is double the cord back through that big oval shaped bead. Just get them in there. I have to pull it up here so I can actually have some leeway on the cord. I'm sorry I can't show this in the camera, but it's a little bit tricky. I'm going to put you on hold just for a minute. Okay, so what happened was the first one of these beads was part of the hole was clogged. It was open wide enough that it could get the cord through once, but not the second time. So what I'll have to do is take a bead reamer and ream it out. So I just picked up a second bead of the same shape to show you what I'm doing. Anyway, I've now got the cord coming through this bead twice. I have a size 8 seed bead on the end, which I've just pulled in there. And what that does is just the same way that if you were doing one of the sticks, you would just go ahead and pull it. Make sure you have a stopper bead on the end, pull the second hole through there, and then just go ahead and keep on weaving. And you can just snug him up. You can pull him into position. But as you can see, there's no reason for you to not use some of these larger beads as you're going through. Now, if this were an actual design, I probably would not have put this bead here. I probably would have put it much further down in the design. But with the Czech mix that I happen to be working with, this was the one bead that I had that had that long, wise hole in it. And I wanted to show you how you can use beads that have those other holes in them. So, give it a try. Have some fun. Thanks for watching.